Can you evict a tenant when buying a house in Ontario? Let's talk about it so you know all of your options and you know whether you can or cannot do this. If the tenant is on a fixed lease term, you cannot evict them when you buy that house until their term is up. Now you can send the eviction notice 60 days before the term is up, but you cannot evict them any earlier than their lease term. If they are on a month-to-month term, then yes, you can evict them. However, you need to make sure that you provide 60 days notice and you follow these guidelines. If you are purchasing the home for your own personal use underneath your name, you can serve that tenant an N12 notice of eviction. Now that N12 notice of eviction has to be given to the tenant from the time they pay rent, and they have 60 days from that time to vacate the property. Now when I say personal use, you can only do this on the N12 for these four things: your personal use to move into the property, your parents' personal use to move into the property, your caregiver's personal use to move into the property, or your child's personal use to move into the property. And when doing the N12 notice, you have to occupy that property for 1 full year. You cannot use this notice, move in for 2 months, and then re-rent it for a higher price. That year has to stick. After that year is done, yes, you can re-rent that property. Now, you cannot serve an N12 notice of eviction if you are purchasing the property underneath a corporation. There are no N12s allowed when the property is owned by a corporation. This is very important for you to know. There are some workarounds with this, however, and I'll talk about those in another video. So when you buy the property, you want to make sure that you are putting the appropriate clauses in the agreement of purchase and sale. And you also want to make sure that you assist the seller in helping make this easier for him, so that you guys can get this done and you can evict the tenant when you purchase the property. So come closing time, the property is vacant and you're happy. You need to make sure in that agreement of purchase and sale that you put a clause in there stating that you are purchasing the property for your own personal use, and upon closing, the seller agrees to provide vacant possession. You also need to make sure that you put another clause in there stating that the seller is going to provide all legal notices and documents to the tenant upon acceptance of this agreement of purchase and sale. This way, he sends over the N12 on your behalf the moment the offer is firm, and then that tenant now has the 60 days notice that they need, and this way you can get the property vacant. Just remember, you do everything lawfully and you're actually abiding by that N12 notice of eviction, because the tenant will pay close attention to that property, and if you do anything unlawfully, they'll take you to the landlord and tenant board and you could lose a lot of money, and that sucks. Now, the other way that you can evict a tenant is by getting them to sign an N11, which is a notice of agreeance to end the tenancy amongst the tenant and the landlord. Now, maybe they're open to finding a new place and maybe they're okay with this. They want to move, so they'll sign the N11. Now, a lot of times you also need to do a cash for keys scenario with that tenant so that they can find another place and get some assistance. And if you come to an agreement for cash for keys, that tenant will sign the N11 notice to end the tenancy based on them receiving those funds. And they will give you the keys in exchange for cash. Now again, you need to make sure you have the appropriate clauses in your agreement of purchase and sale with this N11, because you don't want to go all the way to closing, find out the tenant didn't sign the N11 and he's not leaving. Now you're in litigation and you have some legal issues. So make sure you do this appropriately. Hire a real estate agent that knows what they're doing to help assist you with this. And if you need help with that, I am a licensed real estate agent. Just give me a call, shoot me a message, or send me a text. I'd be happy to help you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.